On this week's episode, we talk about our crazy good memories.
We talk about how our memories are good because we can't see well, but also maybe just because we'll explain.
We'll get there. Stick around.
Hello and welcome to Rare with Flair,
The podcast where two 20-somethings with the same rare disease are living their best lives. I'm your host, Cassandra.
and I'm your host, Casey. Hello, Cass.
Hello, Case.
How have you been?
Good. I had a busy weekend. How about you?
I've been good. I've had three things that have been bringing me lots of joy lately.
Tell me about them, Case.
The three things are plants, swimming, and reading. And I think all three of them relate to the warm weather because swimming is a given. You know, you can swim when it's warm outside.
Of course.
Reading, I specifically am a reader in the summertime because I love sitting out on my patio to read. It's like my favorite.
Okay, that sounds lovely.
And then plants, I can do my outdoor plants. And we'll talk about that maybe in an upcoming episode. But
wink, wink.
Wait,
okay,
reading,
but
though, outside. Ugh.
But I think was it last episode? You said that you were gonna go plant shopping with your dad, but he was sick.
And I did.
You
was sick,
did?
and then I did. Yes, I finally did go plant shopping with my dad. I got some beautiful flowers, and I still want more. One of the plants I ended up buying was toxic to dogs, and I didn't realize until I brought it home. And good thing I got rid of it because Rupert has been licking my flowers.
Oh no!
And like they're not toxic.
I mean, yeah, but like that would have been bad.
That would have been bad. He might not have lived. So anyway, though, what have you been up to?
Let's not think about that.
Yeah, we're gonna quickly change the subject from that.
So yeah, I had a great weekend. I went to the farmer's market.
Heck yeah, we talked about that in was it our last episode? Yeah,
it was
maybe.
like my first time going this season or really this year, I guess. But it's
Love
been
to see it.
so good to go back to the market. I had missed it, and I love eggs. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but like every morning I make myself an egg for breakfast, and like a fried egg. Nothing better. But I got farm fresh eggs. And it was like, if you got 3 dozen, it was cheaper. So I'm like, absolutely give me 3 dozen eggs. So I have no shortage of eggs in my refrigerator, and I am living for it.
Did you ever watch The Amanda Show?
No.
Okay, there's this character in one of the skits they do, and the only thing she ever says is, I like eggs, in like a southern accent. And I feel like it's you.
It's me. I love
like eggs.
I like eggs. Yeah.
I like eggs. Love it.
It was also my friend Diana's bridal shower, which was so fun, and it was so good to celebrate her. So
yes.
Oh, the wedding season is a coming.
It is a coming. I've already been to 2 this season. You're about to go to 2 in a row.
Yeah. 2 in a row.
My friend. Bang, bang, bang.
Right. My friend and college roommate, Kristen, is getting married a week from now. She would have already been married when this episode comes out, which is wild. Aww. And my big brother is getting married like the weekend of Memorial Day. So it's going to be wonderful. I'm so excited for it.
So excited. So exciting. Well, a lot to look forward to. A lot of fun. Spring and summer
activities, yes.
But this is kind of a weird, people might be like, this is a weird episode, but
it matters, y'all. It matters.
It matters. Like, Cass and I have weirdly good memories.
We bonded over this like time and time again, and we're like, we're afraid that we're gonna freak people out because like we remember like really specific days and dates.
Yes. So like explain, I have 2 specific ways my memory is good. Like, and I know you do too. Like, explain the specific ways because it's like, it's not that our memory is just good with everything. It's like specific things.
So I'm really good, like scary good at remembering dates. And so it's usually around like what's going on in my life, which sounds a little self-centered, but I think that's like people generally remember things that happen to them. So like I will remember like when a specific thing happened, or like where I was when I heard a song, or, you know, it's very specific, and it sort of extends to other people where like I'll remember if I was doing a certain thing when something else happened to a friend of mine, because it was like somewhat related. Like I remember when like some of my friends have like gotten together with their partners because it was around something else that I was like. I remember when my brother and his almost wife, oh my goodness, started dating, and it was because of like something else that had happened to me that day that I remembered. And so it was just like, it's so it's freaky though, because I forget that I feel like I have it's like a party trick or something, and then I will just like not think about it and rattle off a date of something that happened to someone else, and they were like, why do you remember that?
Yes. No, so I'm very, very similar. I think Cass actually is a little better at this than I am, which is kind of wild, because up until I met Cass, I had never met another person who came anywhere close to being as good at this as I am.
Okay, but I thought I was the only person like this, and I felt kind of insane, and so it was so good to know.
And like literally, mine works the exact same way of like, I literally the other day told one of my friends when she started taking her blood pressure medication, and she didn't even remember.
That's like, so funny.
And like, I even know, another friend when she started dating her boyfriend because it was near my birthday. It's like things that relate to me, but it's like I know not only do I know most of my entire life timeline, I know like my friends' timelines of their lives too.
Yeah.
Like exactly when they started dating someone or whatever. And like, I think for me, I always just remember what age I was or what grade I was when things happen. And I like what you said about songs, because if you name pretty much any song, I can tell you how old I was when it was popular, or like a memory associated with that song.
Yeah. I'll listen to an album and I'm like, this album is this period of my life.
Yes, 1000%. It's very, very tied to music as well. But also, like, another thing I'm really weirdly good at is lyrics of songs. Like, really, really weirdly good, to the point where it's embarrassing, because when I'm with friends in the car, I will purposely not sing all the words, because I don't want to look like a crazy person. Like, I don't want to look like I've tried too hard, because I didn't.
Like you went out of your way to memorize the song when you just didn't.
And I didn't. And so anyway,
it's so funny. I'm pretty good at lyrics, but not as good as you.
You are too.
Not as good as you.
But whenever my friends sing songs around me, I can tell they get a little bit scared to mess up the word in front of me, because I would not correct them, but I would, in my mind, I would be thinking,
like, that's not right. That's not the right words.
That was not the right lyric. So I'm weird. So I'm even weirder with lyrics than I am with timeline. Like, I'm better at lyrics than timeline, but those are the two ways my brain. But then if you tried to like make me study for a history test, I couldn't remember.
Right. Well, so here's a bit of a science fun fact.
Oh.
So the brain. So I was reading about this for one of my classes for grad school. But the brain remembers things in long-term memory in different ways. So like something like in history, if you're trying to remember a date, that's more of like your rote memory, where you will just like, this is a fact and I store it in my brain. And that could also be similar to how like people might remember other people's birthdays. It's like, this is a fact about a person I'm remembering and committing to memory. But what we're explaining in our lives is generally like procedural. So like we remember like where and when something happened to us, and also people around us by proxy. But like they're different like types of memory, and I'm with you. Like I have a pretty decent memory otherwise for like rote things where I'll have to memorize a fact, but like my procedural memory is like really, really good for some odd reason. But it does come in handy, because like and this is, you know, we wanted to get into this too, it actually helps us appear more sighted than we really are.
Which is a blessing and a curse, my friends. A blessing and a curse. Because I don't want to say this in a rude way, because it's not meant to be rude at all, but some people who are low vision, might not be able to like fake it as well.
Yeah.
For like no fault of their own, and actually that might be good. Like they might be more authentic. But like just because A, my memory is good, B, I'm like an adaptive person, and C, I'm an actor. So I'm able to fake it like extremely well, almost to my detriment.
Oh,
for sure.
Yes. Yeah, I think you're better at like faking it and knowing that you're faking it because of your acting training. Yeah. I walk around with like absurd amounts of unearned confidence. That's me. I'm like, well, this is gonna work because it's gonna work. Like,
so like, but do you think your really good memory is tied to being low vision, or is it separate? I mean, there's no way to know, really.
It's so hard to say because there's no way to separate the two. We've never like had any other kind of vision than what we have now. Like this, we were born exactly this way. So there's no way to know if we did have better vision in the past, would our memories still be as good? I don't know. But yeah, sometimes it's not great though, because then people think that what you're seeing, or what you're saying, I don't know, pointing out, I guess.
Yeah.
Is like what you're actively seeing, and it's not. When we talked about like how we see, we talked about, shapes and colors and things. And like, I have like just really strange and absurd things memorized. Oh, you know what? I did this the other day and I had to tell you. I don't think I've told you this actually. So I was getting coffee with, like my Bible study leader, and she had just been traveling internationally, and she was paying for her coffee and dropped a coin on the ground. I don't know if this is just memory, if this is just me being blind, but she picks it up, and then like later she's talked about being in Italy, and I was like, so earlier you dropped a coin on the ground, was that a euro? Because it didn't sound like an American coin.
Stop.
It was the blindest thing I'd done, I think.
So blind. That is so blind. No, yeah, but that's also, it's memory as well.
Right. Like, of course I remember how American coins sound, because I've dropped coins before, and I remember the way that they clink.
Yes, and I remember, like, everyone's voices. Like, if I watch an animated show, I can tell you who's voicing, like, everybody. And one time I was in a dressing room doing a play, and some girl, my friend, came in the room behind me and like sneezed, and I was like, oh, hey, Holly, but I was faced away from her.
Yes.
And everyone was like, they were like, how'd you know that was Holly? And I was like,
the way like people clear their throats.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I could tell you if my friend James like walked into the room, because he clears his throat in a way that is memorable to me.
Yeah. And people are like mind boggled by this.
Yeah.
You know, but
well, again, it feels like a party trick.
Well, we don't even try. Like this is directly related to the blind factor of us like just relying so much on sound. But I think like there's so many other examples of this. Like, okay, when you're a kid and you're in class and the teacher was writing something on the board, but they were like saying it as they wrote it. Like they were like, the equation is blah, blah, blah. And like you heard what they were saying, and when I was taking notes, I would have to like quickly hear it because I couldn't look back and reference the board to like see what they had written. So if they were saying it aloud as they were writing it, all the other kids had the advantage of being able to hear it, but also look back at the board later, where I had to write my notes and remember so quickly, like like what she was saying, and keep it like a steel trap in my brain. And so I feel like and that's like just one example. And that's
a great example of how our short term responds, because that's an even different part of our brains than the types of long term that we've been talking about.
But it's like a muscle that we worked. It's like, it's not necessarily that we were born with that skill, but we've literally had to work that muscle to survive in this world. Mm-hmm. Like, that's literally, and even like when I was a kid and I would be watching TV and I would have the remote control and I'd be going down like the the TV guide on our TV. I couldn't read anything, but I would like memorize where everything was, and I would like memorize what like, you know, and I would click it, and they'd be like, "How did you do that?" You know.
Well, and like again, it's super unconscious because I remember doing that as a kid too, or like especially with cable channels, like the logo in the bottom corner. Mm-hmm. You could tell what logo that was. Like you had those shapes memorized in your head. Like I can,
or the colors,
I could tell you like what kind of a car something is by kind of just generally looking at the back from a distance, because like I know a lot of the major car logos, like you know how Toyota looks, how Chevy looks, how you know Lexus looks. It just, those things like burned into our brains. And it's funny because like sometimes I forget that sighted people don't do that.
Yeah.
So just oh, you don't know what that is? Like, it's just like, isn't it so apparent? Because it's like burned into our memories. Do you have memories
like from being a little kid where you noticed your memory was better than others around you?
From being a kid? I would, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would remember when, for a lot of time I didn't use my agenda, like my given, like, student planner, because I just knew, like, when things were due.
Yes.
I didn't have to write them down, because also, like, as a kid, there was a lot less to remember in your life, so, like, I don't think I could do something like that now, but it was really easy to then. It's like, oh, the math homework is due on Wednesday. You know?
Yeah. I remember I was in my first play in the 4th grade, and it was the Match Girls gift, and I was the Match Girl. So I had a ton of lines, like on every page. I never left the stage. I was on every page for like a full hour and a half. And I remember like I would go to rehearsals at night, and I would come back, and the show was like about to open. And my mom was like, Casey, we've never run these lines together at home. You've never studied this. And I just knew them already. Like I never, I would do it at rehearsal, but I never had, I never had to sit down and like, and I think I'm a little worse now. I think I probably would have to sit down now and memorize them. But like I've had deadlines with theater where it's been like, you have to do this show in 2 days because you're the understudy, and like, you have to do it now. And like that's something, and I think you doing theater too, I think theater people in general are also really good at this because it's like a muscle that they've had to work.
I remember one year I was, and I think there were a few lines in it, I was like, it was one of the years I was in a Christmas play. I don't know if it was I think one time I played like Mary. I was very proud of that. But I think there were some lines in it, and I remember looking at like the kid playing Joseph and like mouthing their lines for them.
I did this. I was so annoying. Every time someone would forget, and this was all throughout my childhood, anytime someone would forget a line, I would know not only my lines but the entire show. Theirs. I would know all of theirs. And even like Wicked, I've seen Wicked quite a few times, but I've never like, it's not a movie. Like I can't watch it. I can only watch it when I go. But like at one point in time, I could like start from the very beginning and like say all of it, like including the dialogue that's not on the soundtrack.
Oh man, that's amazing.
But like, so do you feel like, were you always the go-to person in your family? Like when your family is like, when did this happen?
Girl, I am the current go-to person in my family. And
Me too.
I always have been. It's so funny.
Me too.
I would just like remember and it doesn't even have to be something specific. I remember when I think my brother was in undergrad, so I was still in high school for a lot of that time. But my brother would ask my mom, before he had, officially like moved out of my parents' house, my brother would ask my mom like to get him something from his room. And then she was like, oh, I don't know where that is. And she was like, ask Cassandra. She knows where it is. And I regrettably did. Wait,
I don't know. I'm not good at that. I don't know where things are. I don't think.
That's so funny. Man, I remember like, and this was so oddly specific, but last year we went to Chile, my parents and I, and it was like our international trip that we took. And my mom asked me like around that time, she's like, when did we buy these flights? And I remembered that it was like early May. Uh-huh. And because I remember when she told me that we bought the flights. I remember what I was doing, and I remember what time of year it was.
That's exactly how my brain works.
And it's so bonkers that I didn't even have to think about it that hard. And, like, it's so funny because initially I, like, rolled my eyes. I'm like, Mom, like, why can't you just look for it? I don't know.
Yes,
but then I'm like, oh, but I know the answer.
Yes, and none of my family's brain works like this. My family doesn't remember anything. My sister the other day just kind of nonchalantly was like, I don't even remember the last time I went to Disney. And I quickly was like, 2012. And like,
I remember last time you were there.
You know what's funny? Okay, so about the plane flight thing. Okay, this is how my brain works. If my mom asked me, when did we buy those plane tickets? I wouldn't remember buying the tickets. What I would remember is what I was doing that day, and that's how I remember it. So it's like, when were we buying the tickets? Oh, you were buying the tickets when I was at the zoo with my friend Ashley, and we went to the zoo in February. Like, that's how my brain...
That's exactly how I did it, too. Because when she asked me, I remember, like, she had come to visit me, and I was playing a video game, and I had beat the game. Like, I'd beat the storyline of the game. And I remember, like, watching the end credit scene, and then after that, like, I sat down next to my mom, and then we talked about, like, she's like, I just bought the flights. I'm like, oh, yeah.
That is literally exactly how my brain works.
Why is it this way?
That is how I know the month it happened, because I relate it to other things I did that day. It's not just like it's not a memory by itself. It's a memory connected to other things. And that's why I can remember my friends' lives as well. Like, I could tell you most of the things you've done.
Oh, yeah.
In the last few years that we've been really talking a lot. Like, I could definitely tell you, like, your timeline as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would point out examples, but I feel like the examples that are coming to mind are, like, more personal. So
I know. I don't want to. Yeah,
but no. Okay. So actually, we talked about vision, but, you know, since we hashtag sick people, in all of the ways that flies.
Yes.
Okay. How are you with, like, talking to, like, a new doctor? Like, can you rattle off dates that things happened to you medically?
Oh, my whole life. My whole life from the beginning. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And like, because I remember I got diagnosed for the first time with anemia in the 6th grade. And I remember that because I would be really like freezing cold at all my classes and like, and it all like relates. Like I can see my 6th grade classroom. Like I see the classroom I was in that year.
Same.
And I could tell you every diagnosis, every year, and those are not the really good memories of our lives. Of course, we remember good things too. But I mean, I'm sure you're the exact same.
No, it's the same. And it's funny because like when I've had to like message doctors about like symptoms that I'd been experiencing, and I'll be like, okay, so this was happening on, you know, like 2/14, and then and then it happened again in 3/17, and then, you know, like I just like, and I'll throw them out and I don't have to really think about it. It's scary.
Well, that's a difference between you and I. So Cass can remember the day, like March 13th, whereas like for me, I remember the year and a lot of times the month, but I normally can't tell you specific days. Like I'll be like, it was September of 2010, but not September 3rd of 2010. You know what I mean?
I think like the big ones will stand out to me, and then just some random ones, I guess, in between. Because it's coming up more and more lately that I'm like, oh, I guess that date did happen. Like just, I think today. So today is the day that we're recording this is what, May 18th?
Let me check.
No, it was 16th. Yeah. So May 16th of 2018, I moved to Seattle, and I had remembered that date for some years, but it wasn't until this morning I got on Facebook and there was like a memory of like when I had moved to Seattle, and it was like, oh wow, that date came and I barely even realized it until Facebook reminded me.
Yeah, if it's a bigger thing I do, I'm just not good with numbers. I'm not good with math. I don't like math. And half the time I don't even pay attention to what day it is. Like I couldn't even have told you today was the 16th. So like I can tell you it's May for sure. And I do see my whole life very much on a timeline and very much year by year. Like I see everything like that. It's like a calendar, but like the day, the actual date, like the number, no, I'm not very
It's not for everything. A lot of times I can do month year pretty quickly, but like I can give a good stab at the date. Because when my mom asked me when we bought the flights, I knew it was like early May, but I didn't know exactly what date. But I gave a solid guess. I'm like, probably like, the 6th or 7th or something like that. And then it happened to be one of those days, just because I remembered what part of the month we were in. But it's so funny.
Does this talent ever make you feel like a jerk? Like you don't want to correct people, but you do.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I'll do that with my family because like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, when we went to Disney as a family in 2018." I'm like, actually, it was 17 because I feel like I know it all.
I feel like such a know-it-all. And like I'll do it. The worst part is when I do it with my own friends about their lives.
Yes.
Like one of my friends would be like, "Well, I moved back to Memphis in this year," and I'm like, "No, it was actually this month." And okay, there have been times when I'm wrong, but like I will say it's very rare. I'm sorry to say.
I'm really wrong.
But I'm also like one of those stubborn people who like thinks I'm never wrong. So I really try to be humble and like tell, like if I am wrong about something, I really make an effort to say, "Oh, I was wrong," because I don't want to be that person.
It's good for my ego to admit that I'm wrong.
With lyrics, I don't correct them because what's the point of correcting someone about a lyric? That doesn't matter. But when it's like a year something happened, it actually kind of matters and kind of bothers me. And I'm like, no, that really did not happen at that time. Like,
actually, well, it's funny.
Wrong.
I feel like I literally did that to you in the last episode. I don't know if anyone heard it.
Oh, you did.
But you said like we said something in a certain episode, and I'm like, it was actually this episode. But like, and then I heard myself back, and I'm like, why did I do that? I just couldn't help it. It was an impulse.
Well, no. I think that makes a lot of sense because if the people want to go back and listen to the episode, they would need to know which one. And I corrected myself pretty quickly after, like in my mind, I was like, oh man, like I was wrong about that. I feel like you are better than me at it. Like just slightly, but it like throws me for a loop because I've never met anyone that comes close to my gift.
It's so funny though because I try to keep that in the forefront of my mind because it really can feel like I just like did an insane deep dive on people's lives when in reality,
we don't want to creep people out.
No, like we didn't I mean with lyrics, like you didn't sit down to memorize those songs.
But I look really, really creepy when I know every song. And like it's like every
like
word.
You've heard it like 20,000 times when you've probably heard it twice.
Yes, that's what it looks like.
It's so crazy.
It looks creepy.
Right. And I always have to disclaim myself to people. I'm like, I'm sorry if this is weird, but I remember.
Oh no, me too. Or like, I think my close friends just know I'm like that. But with the songs, like I said, I literally purposely like skip words sometimes because I don't want to be creepy. Like I don't want to look like an overachiever. But like, I feel like this whole episode sounds like we're bragging. But like, I just feel, I feel like it's something, it's something we like relate on, that like we understand each other in this way. And then B, I think it really does kind of relate to our vision. And I wonder if people listening with low vision are like, yeah, my memory is weirdly good. I would not be surprised because I feel like we have to work different parts of our brain than other people do. Like we have to like keep it up to speed or we're not going to fit in with the world.
Right. And I wonder, I mean, I wonder if it's like specifically because we do have some vision, so we feel more pressure to be like a certain way.
But I feel like completely blind people have to really memorize even more though, probably.
That's true too. Yeah.
Because we get to rely on it a little bit.
Totally blind people will remember like the way that buttons are oriented. I mean, like, I could do that some, cause like like even at my parents' house, which, I don't live with my parents anymore and haven't for some years now, but like my mom will still like hand me the remote and be like, how do I change the TV? And like, I know how to do it. It's just muscle memory.
Yeah, no, like I think that's true, but I also think we are able to rely on our eyes more than a totally blind person, obviously. Yeah. So like in some ways we don't have to memorize.
Right.
But we still have to memorize a lot.
I've heard some totally blind people rattle off street names like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I know incredible. A good amount of street names, but not all of them. And so I don't, because I haven't needed to, right?
Mm-hmm. do you have any part of your memory that you think is not very good? Like, is there something that you're like, I'm not good at remembering?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Or it's just like pretty average, I would say. Like, it's like most people may or may not remember these things. I feel like I like to think I can keep track of like future things, but I do actually need to write them down. I mean, I can to an extent, but I just like, you know, your brain has a limited capacity, and I like to pretend like mine doesn't, and then I just like overdo it, and then things will fall through the cracks.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I was telling Cass earlier, I'm not good with, or I said this earlier in the episode, I think. I'm not good with numbers. Like, I still get my social security mixed up sometimes, which is really horrible.
Okay, but everybody does, though.
I also feel like books, if I will read a book and I can tell you how it made me feel. Like, I can tell you if I liked it, if it made me cry or whatever, but I can't tell you much at all about it if it's been like more than a year. Like, I can't even tell you, like, the main character's name. I can't tell you even really what happens if someone asks for a summary. But, like, you know, it's kind of like that quote. You'll remember how people made you feel, but you might not remember what they say or do or whatever.
Oh, my gosh. I also remember, like, or I also think that same goes for me with, like, shows. Like, even if I've seen the show a few times, I'll remember generally kind of what happens. But, like, a good example is, like, a show that my family watched a lot growing up was, you know, Monk, which is, like a crime, you know, homicide investigation type show, but it's, like, fictional. I can remember, like, the premise of the episode. I'm like, oh, this was the one where, like, this was the premise of, like, the homicide they were investigating. But I don't always remember, like, who the killer was, right? Like...
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not so good that we'll, like... never enjoy anything ever again.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Like, I've seen my favorite show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've seen a lot of times, and sometimes it's like a long show. It's 7 seasons. Sometimes I'll rewatch it and I'll be like, oh, I actually kind of forgot. I mean, not completely forgot. Like, once I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. But you kind of forget. Like, and I feel like I'm also bad with names. I'm not very good with names.
I'm very good with names, but I'm not.
You are.
I'm not as good with like birthdays, actually. So, like...
See, I'm pretty good with birthdays.
I have to go out of my way to memorize someone's birthday. Or if I get to celebrate their birthday with them, then I will remember. Because, like, I didn't know my friend James's birthday. But I remember when we celebrated, it was his birthday, and it was February 18th. So, like, I know that now, but if I had to, like, remember... I don't know, so like a new friend, I don't really...
I would be more likely to remember a new friend's birthday than their name. Like, I'm not kidding.
That's so funny. I'm not that
like,
way.
I can do a birthday. But, like, names, even on TV shows, like, I remember Cass wanted me to watch Jane the Virgin. No, I'm so bad. I was watching Jane the Virgin, and I was like, Cass, I promise I like this, and I promise I'm paying attention, but it took me, like, a whole season to learn the characters' names, and that's how I always am.
It's so funny because... when I was a kid, you know, when you asked earlier, like, how'd you know your memory was better than others? That's one thing that I was also really good at, was remembering the names of characters on shows.
No, I can't.
I do the same thing as that you do with lyrics. I pretend like I forget them. I'm like, oh,
that's so funny.
What was their name? This character? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's because I
don't want to look insane.
Funny. No, like, so I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, and their names are all, like, kind of different, like Sokka and
Katara.
Aang and all this, Katara. And I remember when I first started watching it, like, actually having to actively try to, like, remember, like, I was like, what is their name? Like, I can't, it's so hard. But you know what other thing I'm good at, though, is random facts if it's about something I like.
Oh,
so, like... could I memorize things for a test? No. But if you asked me about Disney World, like random facts about Disney World, I could spout off like 20 right here.
I do. Like, I can do that with music. I'm like, oh, this song was on their 2014 album, which was this. And
yes,
I'm like,
no, I'm so like that. I'm so like that with music. Like my mom listens to a lot of the same artists I listen to, and she can't tell you what album the songs are on.
I can't believe it.
Like, she'll know the song, but she like, she'll go, is that song on the same album as that other song? And I'm like, no. And I know, oh yes, the artists I like, I know exactly. I could even like tell you the song lists like in order. Like if it was like my favorite album, I could probably tell you like the track list in order. I can do that with Buffy episodes as well. I can tell you the episodes in order.
You know that so much better than I do. So like when I went through and I watched Buffy, you were like, "Have you gotten to this such and such episode title?" And I don't pay any attention to episode titles, but I
know every episode title.
I have since you've asked me, because I'm like, I never look at them.
Oh, I memorize them. Like I will be like, oh yeah, season 2, episode 21. When this happened?
Can't do that. I can't do that.
Oh, I can. But it's the reason why is it's like part of my nerdy interests. Like if I'm really interested in something, I want to know like everything about that thing. And like
so funny.
But then I like couldn't ace a test in school. But no, that's a lie. That's a lie. I could. But I like was not remarkably good at memorizing things for school because I didn't care. I didn't want to memorize that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I could do it, but it didn't come as naturally. Like, I had to actively practice for it instead of, like, you just, like, absorbing it without even trying.
I had this friend named Chris in college who majored in my same major, so we were in a lot of classes together, and he would just go to class and listen to the lecture and never study. He would just know it all after it was said.
Oh, I could never.
I mean, I could even when I study, I can't remember a darn thing after, because I didn't really care. I was like, I don't, but if it's something I care about, I'm there. I'm like, I know every weird fact about this thing. Like,
yeah, I'll occasionally do some reading about artists or songs or albums or things, and I'll remember like, oh, this song was about this thing, and I start to associate all of those things in my brain because I care about it, and it's like an artist I really love and I wanted to learn about them.
Yeah.
And I only had to read it like once. It wasn't like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Oh yeah,
y'all.
I also like
our minds are scary places.
Just in general, I remember my childhood very well. Like, my mom can't remember much of her childhood. Actually, a lot of people I talk to can't. They're like, I don't really remember, like, that. And I was like, I can remember, like, preschool vividly.
That's funny. I don't think I remember my childhood as well. And maybe I'll blame that on, like, emotional trauma from, like, medical stuff that I've had in my life. Because of that, not to get too vulnerable, but I had to, like, actively go to therapy because there were parts of high school I didn't remember. When a lot of, like, my medical trauma was happening. So I don't have that superpower.
Well, no, that's fair. And, like, that being said, even though I can remember a lot about preschool, I'm not as good at, like, even more recent, like, college. Like, I will have friends say memories, like my roommates will like say old memories to me from college, and I'm like, I don't remember that at all. And it's like, and I don't think I was like blocking things out. I think like I'm better at timelines than I am at just general memories. So like I can tell you like literally freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, I can tell you exactly what happened in those years based on the year that it was. But one of my friends will throw out a memory sometimes, and I'm like, man, your brain works better than mine in that regard. Yeah. I'm like, what? Well, I don't remember that at all. Or they'll remember people better than I do. They'll be like, remember that girl named Sarah? And I'm like, no. And they'll be like, same. Yeah, like, I'm not good at that. Like, they'll remember, like, the Sarah, that girl we met at that party 3 different times. And I'm like, who? Yeah, I'm not good at that.
Yeah, I'm not as good at that either.
Yeah. But I can tell you, like, when the party was that we met Sarah at. I just can't tell you who Sarah is. Like, that's literally... And some people are, like, one of my friends who I was roommates with in college has a really good gift at, like, people and, like, remembering people and remembering her relationships to people. For me, I'm kind of like, I don't really remember that person.
That's funny. Yeah. I remember I had... one of my roommates like was interning for our college church, and I think it's because she just knew a lot of people, but I had seen her again fairly recently, and she was like, oh, do you remember so and so and so and so? And I'm like, no.
Do you think that has to do with vision though? Because we don't recognize.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Yeah, like I don't remember you because I barely saw your face.
right. And like, I think I might have met you one time, but like that wasn't enough to commit you to memory.
Yeah, no, I think like sometimes our memory is better because of our vision, and sometimes our memory is worse because of our vision.
It's funny though. I feel like with voices,
Yeah, voices.
voices will. There are certain voices, and they don't have to be even like that much more distinctive, but they are a little bit different. That I will just like. I know like immediately who this is, and I've only talked to them a couple times. But there are some people who have like maybe like a generic voice. Mm-hmm. Like they sound like other people that I know. So, there's nothing particularly distinctive about the way that they talk. So it's not like, I'm like, oh, who is that? It takes me a little bit longer to associate that person's voice with their name. But,
no, that's fair. But yeah, if you have any more pressing things to say, we can. But also,
we have
a game! And it's a memory-related game, guys.
I'm excited for this, but also nervous.
Testing our knowledge here.
Okay, so this premise is that we're gonna ask each other when something happened in like their lives. So I'll ask some case lives. About like something that's happened in her life and vice versa.
I'm so nervous because I feel like, what if I mess it all up and then...
Girl, I didn't pick that difficult ones, I don't think.
Okay.
This first one is going to be real easy for you.
Okay.
When did you get Rupert?
I got Rupert in December of 2018.
There you go.
December 15th of 2018.
There you go, see? I knew you'd know that one.
Yes. Okay. When was, and we can take a second. It doesn't have to be exactly like boom, boom, boom at the moment. We're gonna find the date in our brain. It just might not be right on time. Because as I was saying that, I was like, that's right? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What was your first NIH visit, or when was your first NIH visit?
Oh,
National Institutes of Health, for those of you.
May 2016. I know that. I know that.
Good. Yep, I figured you would.
Now, as far as the date goes, I went with my mom that first time in May of 16, and we also went to Puerto Rico. So now I'm able to place it in my brain as I'm talking out loud, but like I didn't know which trip came first because they both happened in like a quick succession. But I know that Puerto Rico came first because I remember checking my final grades for my second semester.
Should we answer these for each other? Like, when did you get your dog and when did I go to the NIH?
Oh, okay.
We could do that. We don't have to.
Okay, let's do that. So, to answer your first one, I got Romana August 8th of 16 also.
Nice. I went to the NIH for the first time in March of 2011. I can't tell you the exact day, but it was March of 2011.
So wild.
Okay. When was your first trip to Disney?
Okay. See, that one's harder because
you were like a baby.
I was like a baby.
You were like a baby. Okay. Never mind then. Sorry. Like your most recent trip to Disney?
Oh, girl, that's unfair because we went in October.
Yeah, we did go.
No. That's just. Yeah, it was October. Yeah, we went October of 21, which was really, really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, when was your first Disney trip, though?
Mine was September of 99.
Oh, I love that you...
And I know, you know why I know it was September? Here's how our brain works. We were celebrating my sister's birthday.
Oh.
Which is in September.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. She was turning 11. She was turning 11, if anyone wants to know.
I love that, like... I hope other people find this interesting or at least entertaining because I'm deeply entertained.
Me too.
But I don't know if anyone cares. Okay. When did you move to New York?
I moved to New York in September of 2016. It was September 6th of 2016.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive. Why?
I thought that so I always had those two things related in my mind when I got Romana and when you moved to New York. Were they not the same time?
They were around the same time.
Okay.
What was Romana? Yours was August, right?
Yeah. It was like
Yeah, it was a month before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was before me.
Okay. I didn't know. I'm not doubting your skills.
The reason I know this is my parents came up to help me move and they left on September 11th. And I remember that because we don't need to say why I remember that. But
well,
I do know
it's
that.
September 11th.
And they were there for 5 days with me.
That's
So
so
yeah,
funny.
that was when I went.
Okay.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Editing Casey coming in here to say that Cassandra and I talked a little bit after the episode, and what had happened was I went to New York in August and got my apartment. Then I flew back home for a month, and then I officially moved there in September. So she had remembered when I got my apartment in August. I didn't want to discredit her amazing memory, but that's what happened. Okay. Yours. Okay, when was the first wedding you were ever in?
In?
Yeah.
Or went to?
In.
Oh, well, I haven't ever been in a wedding, so it's
I thought
in the
you were.
future. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had. Okay, never mind. Sorry. I keep messing up. What am I asking?
I remember going to, okay, so I remember one of the first weddings I had gone to,
That's even more impressive.
which I think it was October of 2011, because I remember I was a freshman in high school. I remember the project we were working on because it was memorable. Okay, like I had to be transcribing someone's handwriting because we hand wrote something in class, and I was typing it out, and I remember just how difficult it was, and then we went to this wedding.
I remember one of my cousin's weddings. I had auditioned for a show I didn't get into, and I was so sad that day. So that's why I remember the age I was, because of that.
That's so funny.
It's so funny. Okay.
Okay, when did you graduate high school?
May of 2011.
Ooh, do you know the date?
Oh, no.
Ah!
No, I
Oh,
don't.
no.
What about you?
May 23rd, 2015.
Oh, I don't know the date.
I know the date,
Okay.
regrettably, because I was super sick, and that sticks out in my brain.
Oh. Okay, my last one's a little personal, but obviously you don't have to say names or where it was or anything about it. But when was your first kiss?
It was December of 2015. I was outside of my freshman dorm.
Aww. There we go. There we go, folks.
Oh, when was yours?
September 2009.
Oh, girl.
That sounds like we really care about it.
No.
But, that's just how our brain works. It's not like we
I remember it was starting to snow, and it was cold, and it was the end of the semester. So I remember it for reasons, but it just
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. It's I feel like anything romantic, people are like, you care too much. And it's no, I just remember everything.
Do you, okay, actually, so this is getting into music stuff. Do you remember when you first heard Sarah Bareilles, your favorite
I
artist?
do. Yeah. Well, okay, my first concert that I went to, or first time I ever heard her.
Do first concert, because I feel like that's
My first concert
memorable.
with Sarah was, am I gonna know the month? This is I know it was 2011, but it was before I started. Wait, was it 2010 or 2011? Oh no!
Oh no!
Okay, hold on, everyone. Hold your horses. I was a
can-
senior in high school.
Think about it.
In high school. Well, I was a senior in high school, and I feel like when I was in school, I more easily do the grade than the year. Because, but I think
Senior year is acceptable, but
I think it was
can you go for the
August or September of 2010.
There
August
you
or
go.
September
Yeah,
of
because
2010.
if it was early in your senior year, it would have been in the fall.
And the reason I remember, see, this is how it works.
Oh my
The
gosh.
reason I remember, I have a friend, his name is Fott, And he was there, and he's a year older than me, and I remember he had just started college. So I know
So
I know that it was August or September because the school year had just started. I know
Why
that.
is this so deeply relatable to me?
And I literally what about you? Like, your favorite artist, when was the first time you ever saw? Would it be Death Cab?
I haven't seen Death Cab yet.
Oh yeah,
I've been trying to see them for like 10 years.
What's one of your favorites that you've seen?
So I remember I saw when I first saw Vampire Weekend, it was June of 2019. I was really, really excited about it.
Oh,
I know.
I know my first time seeing Paramore was fall of 2009. But I think it was, a lot of my dates are September. These like big dates for me.
Ooh.
What's with that? I've never like correlated that, but I think that was also
September's
September
a big month.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Or it was maybe October. It was in the fall of 2009 is when I saw Paramore for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Awful. It was great.
Love that we know these things, and
yeah,
welcome to a little slice of our brains. I hope it didn't freak y'all out too much or wasn't super boring, but hey, we had a fun time, so.
Oh my gosh, we did. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.